Hi, it's Jason Gorber from ThatShelf.com from the Toronto International Film Festival 2022, and we're here to talk about Bros. Big world premiere last night at the Princess of Wales Theatre. Big studio film. It's being marketed all to hell as sort of a new mode of rom-com, certainly dealing with LGBTQ themes, and saying it's the first studio picture to sort of fully embrace that, to actually go, as it were, full into what just a few years ago would have been seen as completely not working for mainstream audience, not marketable. In a funny way, the film actually speaks to one element that actually helped bring this forward, and it worked very well with the Toronto crowd, which is Schitt's Creek. The fact of the matter is, I mean, there's no better way of saying it, that in terms of culture, there's a certain specific normalization of these narratives, and of course, it should absolutely work out that way, but the fact of the matter is, in a funny way, not just politically conservative, but simply aesthetically, financially conservative, so many, especially studio pictures, are reticent to actually dive into what is considered, for lack of a better word, minority storytelling in all of its modes as it plays out. And now you actually have, with Bros, something which above all, I'm in a funny way here to celebrate the fact that it does what it does, but more than that, celebrate the fact that it does what it does so bloody well. It's a really entertaining film. It's super smart, it's super sweet. You genuinely believe the characters. You believe when they're assholes. You believe when they're sweet. You believe when they're in love, and you believe when they get pissed off with one another. And it's that rare rom-com that actually, forget all the tropes that it's dealing with. The fact of the matter is that it's just a very, very good version of rom-com, owing much more to things like When Harry Met Sally than to the usual schlock that shows up on stuff like Hallmark Channel that it spends a lot of time excoriating. It is in many ways meta. It is a reflection upon other films that have come before. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen, like, for lack of a better word, the broad strokes, the sort of some of the zippy one-liners. And I was kind of worried it would be that. It would be sort of like a trailer movie that you'd have like, ha ha ha, we're laughing that we're getting away with something and everything else has been terrible, but now we're going to tell the story as it should be told. The film spends as much time breaking down the complexities of identity, the complexities of these individuals who are so often put in a position of needing to speak for an entire community, but also being forced into silence by a dominant community, as simple as that. And the film touches upon these sort of broader issues in really fantastic ways. It's not overly philosophical, and yet it is deep enough. It is not overly trite, and yet it's sweet without being obnoxious. Again, you believe the dynamic of everyone at play. You believe their motivations. You believe the sincerity of their positions. And yes, it's a rom-com. Everything works out. It's a comedy in the way that specific theatrical conventions used comedy back in the Elizabethan day. That, you know, at some point in time, there's some sort of gathering, there's some sort of reconciliation, and things sort of come together. But along the way, you believe the journey. It's a little bit long as an Apatow-produced film. They go a little bit long, but I think it deserves those moments of quiet that a lesser film probably would have ripped out. It deserves those moments of sort of doubt. Those moments where you didn't necessarily have the ability to laugh everything off, that things actually hurt, that misunderstandings actually have an effect, especially somebody, our central character, who's locked himself off from emotional commitment, somebody who purports to be a spokesperson for something, and yet at the same time isn't such a good listener. All of these dynamics are at play. It is by no means a one-trick pony. This is not just, let's just do one of those 90s rom-coms and do it with all gay people and just say, call it a day. This is clearly written and structured by very good writers that understand that the way to make these films work is to treat their characters seriously, to treat the comedy seriously, but still allow it to be fun, to allow it to be entertaining, to allow it, for lack of a better word, to be accessible. And because of that, I really genuinely hope that this actually finds an audience much broader than the one that it's going to be particularly targeted towards. I genuinely think this isn't some sort of weird glimpse into the inner lives of what it's like to be gay and reasonably wealthy in New York, United States. We've seen that. This is not Sex and the City, but with two very attractive men. This is very much a film about characters, about stories, about passion, about love, and it's told with so much love. It's told with so much just attention to detail. Emotional detail, relationship detail. There's tiny little jokes that will be lost along the way. As I said, there are definitely broad things, and that stuff shows up in the trailer. But there's a little throwaway line about lemonade, which is fantastic. Which again, those in the know will know. There's a remix of a Mariah song, which I believe is a terrible song, but I love that that's even part of the conversation. Again, these tiny little, these textures that if you're not diving into it so much, it's okay, but you just understand that there's an entire world that maybe you don't necessarily have a absolute direct connection to this particular life in New York City, of these particular individuals and the lives that they lead, but it all feels a genuine authenticity, and that's the part that for me really worked with it. The fact that it's playing at a film festival, I mean, a lot of people dismiss, like, why are you doing like silly studio stuff when we're supposed to be like focusing on art films? Look, in many ways, Bros is the certainly the most entertaining, but one of the most entertaining, but also one of the most well constructed character pieces I've seen here at the Toronto International Film Festival. It really is very, very well done. And like every other film here, it's a little bit too long, it's a little bit too indulgent, but I'll forgive it all because along the way I laughed. It's very sweet. You really feel for everybody at play here. And when it's obnoxious, it's unafraid to be obnoxious. It's unafraid to let you be frustrated with the characters, for to see their flaws, to see them as three-dimensional people, not archetypes, not simply things for you to sort of simply accept. There's some great cameos, there's some great elements at play, and again, I cannot speak at all to any financial success, but as an artistic achievement, as something that I'm super pleased to see at the Toronto International Film Festival, I absolutely am super positive about Bros, and I cannot wait for audiences worldwide to have a chance to see it. I say worldwide, well aware of some of the pressures that are going to be on the release of something like this, but the fact of the matter that it has like this giant multinational corporation stepping up and doing something like this, yes, it's a financial decision, but I also think that we should not forget that it's moments like this that actually open things up, will allow other people to be telling their stories, and will allow a continuation and an enriching of the cinematic landscape, even at this incredibly challenging time. The fact that it's not, I hate to say it, the fact that it's not relegated simply to streaming, the fact that it's actually getting a wide 3,000-seat theater release, the fact that it's being treated the way that the giant Apatow comedies have been, the $100 million making Apatow comedies, is being treated at that scale. And that's why I think they were very, very smart about how they put it together. It took them many years to put it together, but I think that they are doing this with all the right pieces in place. All that's required now is for the audience to come out and embrace it, and I certainly hope they do. For ThatShelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty more coverage on the channel coming soon, and we will see you next video. All the best. Take care.